Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let me tell you, when I was sitting in my living room the other day, watching our beloved General Hospital, I just about dropped my coffee mug right onto the living room rug. We all saw what happened with that terrible situation involving Cullum. When that gun went off and Cassius went down, I think a collective gasp echoed through living rooms all across this great country of ours. We all thought that was the end of the line for him. We thought we had seen the very last of that handsome face causing a stir in town. But as anyone who has been watching these daytime dramas as long as I have knows, nobody is ever truly gone until you see the final credits roll on their life, and even then, you might just be in for a surprise. The writers dropped a massive bombshell on us by revealing that Cassius actually survived that horrific gunshot. He is alive, breathing, and out there somewhere in the world. The moment that revelation hit the screen, the fan community absolutely exploded. My phone started buzzing like a beehive in the middle of summer. Friends and family who watched the show were calling and texting, all of us asking the exact same burning question that I know is on your mind right now. With Cassius officially alive, does this mean the incredibly talented Ryan Paevey is finally going to make his grand return to General Hospital? You know how it is when a favorite actor leaves a show. We hold on to hope like a dog with a bone. We want our favorites back where they belong, lighting up our afternoons with their charm and talent. Well, the good folks over at Soap Central recently caught up with Ryan during the General Hospital Fan Club weekend. If you have never had the pleasure of attending one of these fan events, let me paint a picture for you. It is a sight to behold. The energy in the room is just electric. You have hundreds of passionate viewers buzzing around like bees in a honeysuckle bush, trying to get a precious moment, a photograph, or just a smile from the stars they invite into their homes every single weekday. It is a beautiful gathering of people who share a deep, abiding love for these stories. And when Ryan walked into that room, you could feel the anticipation hanging in the air, thick as molasses. When the reporters finally got a chance to sit down with him and ask that million-dollar question about returning to the show, Ryan gave an answer that was as honest and straightforward as the day is long. Now, I have to be straight with you. He did not give a flat-out promise that he is coming back. He did not say a definitive yes, which I know might break a few hopeful hearts out there. But, and this is the important part, he certainly did not give a no either. He left that door propped open, just a crack, but enough for a bright ray of hope to shine right on through. You see, Ryan has one very specific, very juicy condition for stepping back into the shoes of Cassius. He told the reporters that if he were to ever come back to Port Charles, he would want to return as a true, undeniable agent of chaos. He does not want to just stroll back into town, grab a quiet cup of coffee over at Kelly's Diner, and fade into the background like wallpaper. Oh no, he wants to stir the pot. He wants to come in like a bull in a china shop, rattling the cages and shaking the town down to its very foundations. He called Cassius a masterful troublemaker, and he wants to lean all the way into that if he ever signs on the dotted line again. I have to say, I completely understand where he is coming from, and I could not agree more. If you are going to bring a dynamic character back from the brink of death, you absolutely cannot have them sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Cassius needs to hit the ground running like a runaway freight train. He needs to be throwing a wrench into everyone's carefully laid plans. That is the exact kind of television that keeps us glued to the screen, perched right on the edge of our seats, waiting to see what happens next. A quiet return would just be a waste of all that built-up tension and excitement. Now, this next part of his interview really surprised a lot of folks, but it makes perfect sense when you sit back and chew on it for a minute. Ryan actually admitted that he prefers playing the role of Cassius over playing his previous deeply beloved character, Nathan. I know. We all absolutely adored Nathan, didn't we? He was the quintessential good guy, a real Boy Scout with a heart of gold. He was sweet as pie, always trying to do the right thing, and looking out for the people he loved. He was the kind of man you would want your daughter to bring home for Sunday dinner. But Ryan pointed out something very true about the reality of playing the ultimate good guy on a soap opera. Nathan's world, as beautiful as it was actually pretty small. The vast majority of his storylines were completely wrapped up in his sweeping epic romance with Maxie. Do not get me wrong, we all swooned over that love story. We laughed with them, we cried with them, and we rooted for them through thick and thin. But from an actor's perspective, being tied almost exclusively to a romantic storyline can feel a bit like being fenced in a small pasture. You only get to play one emotional note, no matter how lovely and sweet that note happens to sound. Cassius, on the other hand, is a whole different ballgame entirely. Playing Cassius gives Ryan the incredible freedom to roam all over town and interact with just about everybody on the canvas. He is not tied down to one living room set or one romantic partner. He gets to be right smack dab in the middle of the action. As a wild card character, he can walk into any room, stir up a whole mess of trouble, and walk right back out with a smirk on his face. That kind of freedom is a playground for an actor who wants to stretch his creative muscles. Ryan specifically remembered and talked about those incredible scenes he got to film with the heavyweights of the show, like Sonny Corinthos and Carly. When you take a character like Cassius and put him in a room with powerhouses like Maurice Bernard and Laura Wright, the sparks just fly off the screen. It is like catching lightning in a bottle. Sonny has that intimidating mob boss presence, and Carly has that fiery, unstoppable temper. Watching Cassius hold his own against them, locking horns and trading barbs, was pure television magic. Ryan mentioned how much he loved that variety, the sheer thrill of going toe-to-toe with the biggest movers and shakers in Port Charles. It kept him on his toes and made the work incredibly fulfilling. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves and start planning a welcome home parade down the center of Port Charles, we have to talk about real life. Because at the end of the day, these actors are real people with real lives outside of the soap opera bubble. Ryan has built a wonderful, fulfilling life for himself since stepping away from the daily grind of daytime television, and he is not eager to just sign his life away on another grueling, long-term contract. The schedule of a soap opera is notoriously difficult, memorizing dozens of pages of dialogue every single night. He has taken on some heavy real-life responsibilities that just go to show what a stand-up, decent man he really is. For one thing, he has been stepping up to care for his aging parents. Now, I know many of you listening can relate to that. It is a profound responsibility taking care of the folks who once took care of you. It warms my heart to no end to see a successful young man prioritize his family like that. Family comes first, as my granddaddy always used to say, and Ryan is living proof of those traditional values. It is not always easy being a caregiver, but it is the most honorable work a person can do. On top of being a devoted son, he is also pouring his heart, his soul, and his creativity into rebuilding his own jewelry company, which is called Fortunate Wanderer. If you have never seen his work, it is truly something special. He crafts these beautiful, rugged pieces with his own two hands. It is a true passion project for him, a way to express himself outside of acting. So, you see, he is a man wearing many hats these days, and he wears them all incredibly well. He is balancing a lot of plates, and jumping back into a full-time acting gig is not a decision he can make lightly. Because of all these commitments, Ryan made it clear that any potential return to the show would have to start with a very serious, sit-down conversation with the executive producer, Frank Valentini. They would have to sit at a table and figure out a schedule that actually works, a schedule that allows Ryan to continue being there for his parents, allows him to run his jewelry business, but still gives the fans the dose of Cassius that we are all craving. It would definitely be a juggling act, trying to balance all those different parts of his life. But I always say, where there is a will, there is a way. If both sides want to make it happen, they can find a compromise. Ultimately, it all boils down to the writers finding the absolute perfect storyline. They need to cook up something so irresistible, so full of drama, mischief, and high stakes that Ryan simply cannot bring himself to say no. They need to pitch him an arc where Cassius gets to be the ultimate fox in the henhouse, causing a delightful uproar and turning the town upside down. If they can promise him that level of creative freedom and fun, even for just a short-term stint, I truly believe we just might see him grace our screens once again. So, my friends, the door is absolutely not closed. The book on Cassius has not been fully written yet. He is out there right now, breathing the same air, waiting in the wings for the right moment to strike. Ryan Paevey is happy, he is healthy, he is taking care of his loved ones, and he is open to the idea if the stars manage to align perfectly. Let us keep our fingers crossed, say a little prayer, and hope that the writers over at General Hospital are brewing up a storm big enough to bring our favorite troublemaker back home where he belongs.